Hello everybody and welcome to another video. So last night a video by PewDiePie popped up on my recommendeds on YouTube, and I haven't watched a PewDiePie video in a very long time because I slowly realized that I didn't agree with the ideology that he actively fosters in his community, whether he likes to admit it or not. But I decided to watch this video because it was related to South Africa, which, if you don't know, is where I'm from. And I just felt like this is going to be the one where I'm going to be able to really see and point out like what it is about him that I believe makes him so harmful. So I'm going to talk through a couple of points that I thought about while watching the video. So yeah, let's just get into it.
His name is Jacob Gedley Zuma. Now, do you understand? Well, this man is the former president of South Africa. Well, Zuma has all kinds of history. History that involves accepting bribes, corruption, fraud, racketeering. You know, well, just one of those.
Okay, so the video starts out and he kind of introduces who Jacob Zuma is by talking about his connection to corruption. And yeah, honestly, Jacob Zuma is not my favorite politician in the world, or in South Africa, and he definitely can and has been linked to a lot of corruption. But is that the direction that PewDiePie takes this video in after this point? Does he go on to talk about Jacob Zuma's policies or any of the actual corruption itself? No, he does not. So let's have a look at what comes next.
We announced that our membership figures stood at 769, 800 and 700.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Listen properly.
I am. I'm trying.
769,000.
Uh-huh.
820.
Was that it?
769, 800, you mean 700 million? 800 to 700. I am 700, 769, 820. 820. Oh, I see, okay. So he started over here. It still doesn't match.
And 70. Come on. Cut him some slack, alright? Why should he know how to handle numbers? It's not like he's the president!
So in this first clip, as you can see, Jacob Zuma is struggling to say a long number. And PewDiePie is making fun of him for not being able to articulate this long number in English. He doesn't acknowledge that saying long numbers in English is already a difficult thing to do if you're a first language English speaker. In fact, he says,
you know, it's not like a 5-year-old could do this better.
And then shows a clip from a Steve Harvey show.
876 quintillion, 946 quadrillion, 351 trillion, 798 billion, 345,601,801.
This is the greatest kid in the world.
He gets mad applause, and Steve Harvey is like totally shell-shocked because it's such a difficult thing to do. It is for anyone. But secondly, it's pretty obvious that English is not this man's first language. And I can't believe that I have to say this, but numbers work differently in different languages. In his language, he would articulate that a completely different way. There's also a clip where Zuma, he gives up on speaking English in this moment, and he starts speaking Zulu.
I don't know what a billion is in Zulu. But it's money that can't run away. That can't run away. That's a lot.
And you can tell that he's far, far more comfortable with articulating himself in Zulu than he is in English. I also just think that it's so funny that PewDiePie is taking issue with this as a non-native English speaker himself. Like, he even makes English errors within this very video.
Jacob Gedley Lekiza Zuma. I'm trying.
769,820.
Gedley Lekiza.
I also want to make a quick note that he also makes fun of Jacob Zuma's middle name on 2 different occasions, as if he doesn't have an unpronounceable surname himself, but his is okay because it sounds real European, like. He plays a couple more clips, a couple more that relate to numbers. I think a really interesting one is this next one that isn't about a number, is just about a general articulation issue.
Problematizing.
Probe proopy. Prepo prepa deep. Problema paping. Prebo paropo.
I think my favorite part of this video is when Jacob Zuma is making a subtle joke about white people in South Africa.
You know, some people who could not pronounce Kandla, they've now learned Nkandla, Nkandla.
White people grow up here, live here their whole lives and never learn the native language, whereas black people are forced to learn English in order to like interact in society. So he's saying, oh, white people, you know, refuse to learn the language, but all of a sudden they know this word, Nkandla, because that's the one thing that they, you know, they can't shut up about it because it's the one thing they want to call him out on. I'm not making any points or any claims about actual Nkandla because that's like a whole other discussion for another time. But that is the point that Zuma is making in that clip. And then PewDiePie says,
is this guy actually roasting people how they can't articulate? Jesus Christ.
Mate, is that not what you've been doing this entire video? And also, like, if he knew the context, that statement comes across really like reverse racism-y. Like, white people have spent the last like hundreds of years making fun of black people for how they speak, and when it's dished in return, then like, whoa, now we gotta draw the line.
I'm editing and I just want to add, like, yes, Jacob Zuma talked a lot of nonsense in this video. The stuff about the size of Africa.
Continent is the biggest continent in the world. Not separated even by a river.
Although, like another piece of information that PewDiePie was just missing in this video is that in a lot of maps, if not most maps, Africa is shrunk down to make it look smaller in comparison to other continents. So he's like, oh, I'll just pull up a regular map and fit all the things into it and haha, it'll be so funny. But like, he was ignorant of that fact. Anyway, yeah, some of the statistics that Jacob Zuma attempted to articulate just didn't make any sense, and in those cases, like, yeah, sure, it's probably better for the president of the country to actually understand the information that he is giving or attempting to give.
There's just so much nuance here that isn't being taken into account. Like, it's the sort of thing that South Africans can discuss with a little more authority. Because, like, yes, our parliament can be a joke sometimes. Like, yes, things get messy and crazy. But to discuss it from, like, such a far removed context from ours just feels, like, somewhat disrespectful. Okay, so on to my more, like, general takeaways about this video. PewDiePie's, like, whole brand is that he can say whatever he wants under the name of comedy. But is this a funny video? Is this at all actually comedy? Like, it's not particularly relevant. Most of these clips are, you know, 4 or 5 years old. Like, these are jokes that South Africans laughed at and got out of their systems years and years ago. And now that we've made some progress, really the only people that are still laughing at those jokes are the racist South Africans who think it's okay to make fun of people based on how they speak, and people who associate black South African English accents with like inferior education or inferior intelligence. And that is what PewDiePie is doing in this video. He is not just laughing at a humorous situation or laughing with the guy. He is laughing at him for his inability to articulate himself in English some of the time. But what PewDiePie is really implying through these statements is that you can't run a country unless you speak perfect English. I also think that he's missing so much context about South Africa when in this video. Like, I don't know if he knows this, I don't know if his viewers know this, but South Africa has 11 official languages, and the dynamics in between those languages are pretty complex and pretty intense. There's so much conversation around what languages do people get taught in, what languages do you use in social interactions, and why is it that English is the language that's used in the government, and why is it that in parliamentary or in governmental settings, in formal settings, that people have to articulate themselves in English. This is like, it's an ongoing like debate in South Africa that obviously PewDiePie just has absolutely no sense of when he decided to go and make this video. There's also things to consider, like the lasting impacts of apartheid, the racial dynamics in South Africa, the link between race and language, race and language and class and education. They all feed into each other in a really complex way that just isn't done justice with like a stupid video like this. So I really just feel like what this shows is that PewDiePie had no idea the context surrounding the videos that he looked at in his video, and he still felt like he could insert himself into that narrative, and he still felt like he could make jokes and like pretend to have some comedic input on this, even though like surely comedy should be based in some kind of insight, which he clearly had none of. So he lacks context, his viewers lack context, and he ends up taking like a lot of, whether he knows it or not, a lot of racist and Eurocentric ideas, and he wraps them up in this wrapper of so-called comedy. But it isn't funny. If you knew the context, you would not find it funny. But the reason that I wanted to make this response video is because I know that there are a lot of people that I know in South Africa who continue to watch PewDiePie despite, you know, the ideologies that he espouses and the things he stands for, whether he admits to them or not, and the way that those ideals get passed on to his audience, which is enormous. And so I really hope by making this video that I can show people some of what I've realized about PewDiePie as a content creator, because I used to watch him starting maybe 2011, 2012, all the way up to early this year. And I always thought that, you know, it's okay that his opinions are different than mine because I can watch his videos with a critical mind. But at the end of the day, I decided that to support his channel in that way is counterproductive to the things that I believe. And I think that his community is truly harmful. It starts small, it starts with jokes, it starts with memes, it starts with channels like his, and that's what feeds into the bigger hierarchy of oppression as a whole. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, I'm very sure you'll let me know. If you like me and want to see more from my channel, you can click the subscribe button, and I make new videos every now and then. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I love you.